All right, today we're diving into something really fascinating from Osho's The Book of Women. Now, we're not looking at this as scripture, but more like a psychological deep dive, a way to understand the male and female minds, not as genders, but as two totally different operating systems that are running inside every single one of us. So let's get into it.
You know that feeling, right? You're in a conversation and it suddenly hits you that you and the person you're talking to are on completely different planets. It feels like you're playing by two totally different sets of rules. Well, this explainer gets right to the heart of that feeling, and the answer it gives is way deeper than just a simple communication breakdown. And right here, Osho drops this central, almost paradoxical idea. It's asking us to completely change our default settings. Our first instinct is to try and logically figure things out, to understand. But this says, nope, that's not the goal. The goal is something else entirely. I mean, think about it. Our entire world is pretty much built on this principle. Science, technology, business, it's all about solving puzzles, about demystifying the world. When something is confusing, our go-to move is to break it down, analyze it, and find the solution. So the book tells this brilliant little story to drive the point home. You've got a mathematician, the ultimate symbol of logic, who buys a jigsaw puzzle. He tries to solve it himself and just can't. He gets totally frustrated. But then the shopkeeper lets him in on the secret. The puzzle was never meant to be solved. It was designed to teach a much deeper lesson. That some things in life aren't there to be conquered, they're just there to be experienced. So this really boils down to two completely different approaches to life. On one side, you have mechanics. That's the scientific impulse to take the puzzle apart and figure out how it works. And on the other side, you have mystery. That's the desire to just sit with the puzzle, to enjoy it, to become one with it. But where does this massive split even come from? You might think, okay, it's just how we're raised, it's cultural. But the argument here is that it goes much, much deeper than that. In fact, this whole tension between mechanics and mystery, it's literally hardwired directly into our brains. And this is where this psychological model gets truly mind-blowing. So check this out. The model maps these ideas directly onto our biology. The left hemisphere of the brain, that's the male mind, it's logical, calculative, all about efficiency. The right hemisphere is the female mind, intuitive, imaginative, and it values grace over sheer speed. And the key thing to remember here is this. This is not about being a man or a woman. These are two principles, two forces inside every single one of us. So that's the big question, right? If every single one of us has both of these minds, why does it feel like our whole world is running on just one of them? Well, the answer the source gives is pretty provocative. The whole explanation starts with a really interesting fact. Turns out about 10% of kids are naturally born left-handed. Now, why on earth does that matter? Because being left-handed is connected to the right hemisphere of the brain, you know, the intuitive, poetic, female side. And what has society done for centuries? It has systematically forced these kids to use their right hand. The argument is that this is a huge deal. It's not just about which hand you write with, it's basically a political act, a way to force a person to shift their dominant thinking over to the left hemisphere, the logical, male mind that society preferred. And this leads to what the source calls a right-handed world. It's a society that is obsessed with left brain values, logic, efficiency, while it pushes down right brain values, like intuition and grace. This isn't just a bias against women. It's a bias against the so-called female energy that exists in all of us. And the fallout from living in a world like this is profound. Intuition gets written off as just silly superstition. Graceful ways of doing things get steamrolled by the demand for efficiency. The female mind gets suppressed in everyone, men and women alike. And the warning is that when this happens, we start to lose touch with who we really are, and we start acting more and more like machines. So after going through all of that, we arrive at this final, really powerful idea. The source concludes that the real battle, the one we see playing out in relationships all the time, that's actually just a symptom of a much deeper problem. The real conflict is internal. It's the war going on between your own left brain and your right brain. The idea is that until you can find some kind of peace inside yourself, between your logical side and your intuitive side, you'll never really be at peace in a relationship, because you'll just keep projecting that inner war onto the people around you. So, the final question is really for you to think about. In this right-handed world that values logic above almost everything else, what parts of yourself have you been forced to push down? What kind of intuition, what grace, what poetry have you lost by ignoring your left?